Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. We're your source for personal, professional, and organizational growth and development, where we share original research, explore industry trends, and interview executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We hope you join us often for practitioner-oriented content around all things related to leadership, HR, talent management, organizational development, and change management. Maximize your personal and organizational potential with Human Capital Innovations Podcast. Do you enjoy the Human Capital Innovations Podcast? Please subscribe, leave a review, comment, share, and consider supporting the podcast on Patreon, even at the producer and sponsorship levels. Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. In this HCI episode, I talk with Anthony Hughes about how coding bootcamps are helping companies meet the enormous demand for tech talent. Anthony Hughes, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Thanks so much, John. Happy to be here.
It is a pleasure to be with you. You're in the Cleveland, Ohio area. I'm south of Salt Lake City in Utah. Today, we're going to be talking about specifically within the scope and thinking around recruitment within organizations in this tight labor market. We're going to be talking about how coding boot camps are helping companies meet the enormous demand for tech talent. There are many different industries, many different fields where there's a huge labor shortage. Any STEM field, for example. But if you zoom in even further and you talk more specifically within the tech industry about coding, huge gap in what is needed versus what is available in the available labor. And, organizations have traditionally looked towards universities to hire graduates for these types of positions. There's still a need for that. We still need people to get that kind of education, those certifications, but there are other options and approaches to getting the skills and the competencies necessary to be successful in the new world of work. And so that's what we're going to be exploring together today as we talk about coding bootcamps. As we get started, I wanted to share Anthony's bio with everybody. Anthony Hughes is the CEO and co-founder of Tech Elevator, a leading software training program designed to support the rapid acquisition of technology skills that can lead to meaningful careers in tech-related fields. Anthony previously served as the president of the Software Craftsmanship Guild, a coding bootcamp which was acquired by Learning House in April of 2015. And I could go on, but I'm going to pause there and give you a chance to share anything else about yourself, your background, your personal context that you would like to share with listeners, and then we'll launch on into the conversation.
Yeah, so Anthony Hughes, delighted to be here. Just to extend a little bit on my bio, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I've always been entrepreneurial in my life, but I'm leading this organization, Tech Elevator, and it's both a company I lead and a passion project that I have. And the reason that I'm in this space stemmed from a stint that I did in the world of economic development. As you can tell, this isn't a Cleveland accent. I'm a transplant to Cleveland. I married a girl from Cleveland, and I've been spending a lot of my career and in the last few years trying to contribute to making the community a better place. And in the world of nonprofits and economic development, I worked for an organization that focused on tech-based economic development. And I ran an entrepreneurial mentoring program, and I helped companies grow and source capital and build their teams. And one of the things that I experienced firsthand was the woeful lack of technology talent in the community that I had been adopted by, chosen to call home, and felt that was a problem that I really wanted to set out to solve. That we couldn't reimagine the Rust Belt economy of Cleveland, Ohio, if we didn't reimagine the labor force, and we didn't find a way to help more people acquire the digital skills that are in such high demand. The first part of my journey started at the Software Guild, and then I formed that passion, and then I launched Tech Elevator in 2015. And here we are today as a national organization, reskilling thousands of people for hundreds of companies around the country, and it's a privilege to do this work. And again, I'm delighted to be on this show with you, John.
Thank you. And that's a really fascinating background. And I commend you for the good work that you're doing. Like you said, you just framed it in terms of reskilling, right? And in your community in particular, you saw a huge need. You wanted to try to meet that need. I think that's fantastic. We see similar things throughout the US, throughout the world, for this huge appetite for this skill set, and just not enough people getting degrees or certifications fast enough to be able to meet that need. And so this is where reskilling and upskilling efforts like this can really play an important role. And sometimes it happens within organizations. So organizations will look at their existing employee base and they'll say, hey, we need more skills in this and this and this area. Let's look at how we can provide reskilling opportunities. Other times, they do it in-house. Other times they reach out and they work with organizations like yours. Other times it's just individuals signing up for boot camps or getting, these other forms of training so that they're then able to apply for jobs that require a certain skill set. All the above, are important and play their part. And I'm curious if you can just lay out for me and my listeners some of the approaches that you take in partnering with organizations and in serving the broader labor force generally.
Yeah, so when we started the company in Cleveland, Ohio, we really started just to solve a problem locally. And just to put that problem into context, there were 7,500 software developer positions advertised in the region that we were in at a time when the entirety of the four-year institutions in Northeast Ohio were producing 280 computer scientists a year. So, to frame that, that is a massive supply-demand mismatch, compounded by the fact that about half of those graduates were actually leaving the region to seek their fortune in historically more traditionally tech cities. Taking that to a national level, we stand at 1.3 million open software developer positions in the US economy, with about 100,000 computer science grads in terms of the output. So again, a woeful supply-demand mismatch. Poland produces more computer scientists than the US does, which is fairly tragic. So how do we go about solving the problem? Well, we started the program really as an on-ramp to technology for individuals who are looking to improve their lives and improve their careers. And the mission of Tech Elevator is to elevate people, companies, and communities. And our belief is that there are smart people in our communities who have the cognitive ability to do better, to fulfill their potential, to get better jobs. And if we can take those individuals, identify them, reskill them with these in-demand skills, we can fuel the growth of companies locally in our communities, domestically, and in doing so, we can contribute to the vibrancy of the communities that we're in. And so we started the business as a consumer business only. I'm smart. I know I can do better in my career. What are my choices? Do I go to college? Do I go back to college and incur more debt? Or are there alternatives? And Tech Elevator emerged as a really viable alternative. And we were able to place people into technology jobs, the equivalent jobs of computer science grads, with enormous success. We have a 95% graduation rate, 90+% job placement rate, and the average salary impact of our graduates is $24,000 more than they made before they came to our program, which, by the way, is a 14-week program in duration. And that's what we were doing, and we were doing very successfully.
Just pause there for a second. So I was going to ask you, because I've seen different coding boot camps that are of different types and durations. And your 14-week program, is that a full-time 40-hour-a-week intensive type of a program, or what does that look like?
Yes, we have. It's 14 weeks. The average student will do 50+ hours a week. So it's not intense. A cakewalk.
Yeah.
But we'll take them from zero coding experience to a functional code-ready junior developer in that time period. We also just launched a 30-week part-time program to provide another, more accessible route for people that weren't in a position to quit their jobs, which is what our full-time students have to do. They have to be sort of fully committed to doing that. So that's the format, but it's proven to be very successful, and it's a high return on investment path for individuals that are willing to take the leap with us. And we have the track record at this point for people to feel like, yes, it's a risk, but it's been mitigated by the outcomes of the provider. To sort of continue on the point that, or the question that you asked before about the sort of the modalities in how we're solving this problem. We originally set about simply to solve the problem on an individual basis. And in aggregate now, we're graduating north of 1,000 students a year and putting them into jobs in tech, and that's really exciting. The opportunity to work with companies in a more, in a deeper partnership way actually came when one of our hiring partners approached us and said, look, we're hiring your graduates, and we're hiring them in dozens at this point, and they are performing at, and in some cases, above the level of our computer science hires. If you can do that with, former baristas and retail workers and hospitality workers and Uber drivers, what can you do with the employees that we have in our organization who are driven and ambitious, but don't have the skills to fill the roles that we need? And we said, well, we're not really in that business. We really support individuals. And they said, look, could you just take 5 employees and see what happens? And we took 5 employees, and they sat side by side with students in our classes. And then the result was that they came back and they continued to sort of build that engagement. And now in that particular instance, we're training employees globally for them, which is incredibly exciting. And we have partnerships with dozens of companies at this point who are sending us their employees to reskill into software developers. And that's been really exciting because there are many initiatives at play right now around technology. 1, I need more technologists, but 2, I need to diversify the makeup of my technology organization. And when you look at the output of computer science programs, we really haven't improved much in terms of diversity. We're talking about 18% female, 5 to 6% African American, and that's reflected in the makeup of the tech field in general. Well, if you look inside organizations, large organizations have diversity. They just don't have it equally spread across the organization. And what we've been able to show them is that you can identify high potential individuals through an aptitude testing methodology that we use and reskill them into technology roles, retaining them, developing them, building your employer brand, and diversifying your workforce at the same time.
Yeah, which checks so many boxes, right, of what organizations need. So not only are you getting the reskilled talent that you need, you have the diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're able to meet those goals and move the needle there. And frankly, there are so many other positive organizational benefits to investing in your people, promoting from within. Those types of things also just reinvigorate your current workforce, help them to feel valued, etc. So it's really a no-brainer for organizations to try to leverage these types of approaches. And again, whether it's in a coding kind of a position with coding bootcamps or other reskilling and upskilling types of initiatives, I hope the message is coming through loud and clear for anyone listening that this is something you should absolutely be investing in, because the ROI bottom line benefits are going to be huge. But even some of the harder to measure, squishy, cultural and environmental benefits of having that kind of investment into your people is really going to pay off, especially in the long run. And especially while we're dealing with a really tight labor market. Certainly in STEM fields and tech fields, it's been tight. It's going to continue to be tight, but really organizations are struggling to fill any positions. So, there's so many just open positions, and a lot of them, they don't need necessarily a college degree. They just need, a certain skill set that's going to help them to be successful. Let's invest in our people and help them develop those skills. And then all of a sudden you find yourself with great people who are more committed to your organization, more loyal, and you've also proven them as someone who's committed to being a lifelong learner, someone who's continuing to invest in themselves to make sure that they're going to meet the needs of the future of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely right. I mean, one of the things that employers can do, particularly around these tech jobs, is just tear down the college degree requirement. If you go to your IT department, you talk to software developers and you understand their background. Some of them, of course, will have come through a computer science background. Others will have been self-taught, and many of them will have come from non-traditional sources as well. And so what I love about the field of technology, and particularly software development, is it's highly meritocratic.
Welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Academy. Courses, micro-credentials, and certificates to upskill and reskill for the future of work. All HCI Academy courses, micro-credentials, and certificates are designed, developed, and delivered by award-winning and internationally renowned scholars, educators, thought leaders, executives, and practitioners. Our courses, micro-credentials, and certificates will help you make your mark on the future of work and make an immediate impact in your organizations. Check out the HCI Academy and our many course offerings and certificates to upskill and reskill for the future of work. Check out our new weekly LinkedIn newsletter, Alchemizing Human Capital, exploring industry trends via original research and interviews with executives and thought leaders from across the globe. We look forward to having you join us. Check out Human Capital Innovations magazine, Human Capital Leadership. Human Capital Leadership is a free, interactive e-magazine with the mission to help individuals, leaders, and organizations find innovative approaches to maximize their human capital potential. We publish issues quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Take a look at the latest issue and let us know what you think.
What doesn't, the piece of paper that you have stating where you went to college and what degree you got, doesn't matter 5 years into your career. What matters is what you can do and what you can learn. You're looking for problem solvers, people who are growth oriented, people that get really excited about, finding more efficient ways to do things in your organization, and maybe the privilege of the opportunity to go to college, or the influence of a family member or a friend, steering you in the direction of the computer science degree. That shouldn't be the barrier to entry. Cognitive ability truly does lie evenly in the population, whether that's the general population or the incumbent population of your workforce. And if you're willing to widen your aperture, you will be rewarded in spades for that, and you will get a really strong return on investment. I want to make one other pitch for this, because I think that if I'm an HR professional right now, the pain that I'm feeling is extreme. I mean, it was hard going through the pandemic, and then to pivot from the pandemic to the Great Resignation and the amount of turnover that's taken place. 4 million people quitting their jobs on a monthly basis for the last 6 months. The loss of institutional knowledge is a really painful part of the experience for leaders and companies. And the institutional knowledge that belongs in your, let's say, low-skilled, non-college degreed frontline workers, the understanding of your customers and your culture, and the experience and just the sort of the environment that you operate, those individuals can be elevated within your organization, and those individuals have experienced firsthand problems in your business that technology in turn can solve. And so, elevating those individuals is not just beneficial from a skill standpoint, but also from the retention and problem solving that comes with institutional knowledge as well. So I think there are a lot of really strong arguments for developing talent in turn.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So what would you suggest to anyone grappling with this, like what are the first steps as you're trying to explore this and figure out whether, something like a coding boot camp or any other sort of reskilling or upskilling kind of a program would be useful and beneficial for you?
Well, I think there's a few different things that, need to be considered when you're looking at this, right? So if you're an organization that is thinking about this, or you're in a position where you're thinking about this, one of the things that I would say is, it's always good to have some success stories where this is working that you can point to, right? So people are typically nervous about taking risks, moving away from the status quo. But you can look increasingly at examples around the economy of companies that have taken leadership roles in this and lent into this. We've got a great working relationship with JP Chase. And JP Chase has, it hires on an annual basis, I think 15,000 IT workers every year. They've got a $10 billion plus IT budget. And so they can take some risks and experiment earlier than maybe some smaller mid-sized businesses can do. We work with them on a program called Tech Connect, where they're sourcing diverse talent from historically Black colleges and universities. They're identifying them, non-CS degrees, and then we're working with them to reskill those individuals into software developers, as well as finding individuals in their organization to do it. That's one of the companies we work with. There are many others, but I'd also point to Home Depot. They have a phenomenal example of a project that they did called the Orange Method, where they took, store level associates who, making 15, it's probably closer to 20 right now, $20 an hour. And instead of losing them, they offered them the path to move into the sort of corporate organization to reskill them to become software developers, and took them through a 6 to 12 month process of training and then apprenticeship. So there's good examples out there. The other consideration is just around return on investment, right? Because in many ways, they've got these sort of fixed budgets, and you're looking at one budget for recruiting, and then maybe another budget for talent development. But really, if you go higher and higher up the organization, it's just one big budget for the entire organization. So you've got to find a champion high enough up to understand that costs here can be mitigated by savings here, investments here can offset expenses here. And so, find your champion in the leadership suite of the organization so that you're not toiling in obscurity, that you're finding people that really get it and that want to solve problems, not just in the near term, because in the near term, we just hire more recruiters, we just pay more commission fees. In the long term, if we really want to win in the talent game, we've got to look ahead, we've got to look downstream. And so, your CFO, your CHRO, your CIO, these are people that should be aware of these kinds of initiatives. So those are a couple things. Of course, we're more than happy to talk to people about the work that we do with other companies and how they manage to break things down. The other thing I would say is you don't have to boil the ocean. Start small, right? Start with an experiment where you can get some wins and find some champions in your organization. One of the things that we're really proud of is that we've developed an aptitude test. It's a cognitive assessment that helps us identify the cognitive ability to code in individuals who've never been in technology before. And so what we're able to do with companies who are saying, I've got this group of employees whose skills are atrophied and I need more software developers, but is there anything you can do with them? Is we test those individuals and we say, look, these, give me 100, these, we believe about 30% of people have the cognitive ability to code. These 30 people can do it. Now let's train these and place them into a part of your organization where you've sort of tilled the soil so that they know, where they're landing, that their managers are ready to receive them. Get it right in a small scale, 5 employees, 10 employees, 50 employees, before you try and do it on a massive scale with like 1,000 employees. So those are a few pieces of advice that I would give people. And of course, everyone's got a unique circumstance, and would be delighted to talk to anyone who is interested in exploring this path.
Wonderful. Anthony, this has just been a really fascinating conversation. I note the time. I'm going to have to let you go here in just a minute, but before we wrap up for today, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can connect with you, find out more about your work, your team, and then give us the final word on the topic for today.
Great. So you can find Tech Elevator at techelevator.com, at Tech Elevator on Twitter. We're pretty active on LinkedIn. You can find the team there. Anthony Hughes, you can reach out for me or any of our team members on the enterprise side of things if you're looking at doing reskilling. Big pitch for hiring partners. We're always looking for hiring partners. No charge to hire a tech elevator graduate. We're just delighted to see their careers elevated, so we can connect you to the folks that do that as well. And then on the topic of reskilling, what I would say to anyone who's thinking about doing this is, it's going to take some courage. You're going to have to stick your neck out. But these are the kinds of initiatives that also can really drive somebody's career. These are big problems that organizations are trying to solve. And if you're a problem solver and you can come up with creative solutions, you can couple and tether your career to the success of those solutions. And these solutions are wildly successful around the country at forward-thinking organizations. It's not a question of if your organization is going to engage in these kinds of initiatives. It's a question of when. So jump on it, make it yours, own it, and be a change agent in your organization. And at the same time, elevate some careers in some really awesome and life-changing ways.
I love it, Anthony. It's just been a pleasure. I encourage listeners to reach out, to get connected, find out more about what Anthony and his team can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week. Check out my new book, The Future Leader, Creating and Transforming Next-Gen Organizations. Stemming from 2 decades of professional experience and over 600 in-depth interviews with executives, thought leaders, and scholars from across the globe, The Future Leader will help you explore the ordinary, everyday actions that will help you to prepare to lead in the future of work, to respond to an uncertain future, and to produce extraordinary results for individuals, teams, and organizations. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership, the journey of becoming a truly remarkable leader. Early in my adult life, I learned about an Asian proverb that translates as bluer than indigo. If you think about the color indigo, it is a brilliant, deep, and vibrant blue, what some would call the bluest of blues. To have something that is bluer than indigo is rare and truly remarkable. Contrary to popular myth, there is no one-size-fits-all or cookie-cutter approach to effective leadership. There is no silver bullet, no secret sauce, no go-to model that will solve all of your problems. The truth is, great leaders have all had their unique strengths and flaws, and have all had to discover and then pave their own distinctive path in their life's journey to fulfill their leadership potential. Bluer Than Indigo Leadership will help you discover your own path and explore those ordinary, everyday actions that will help you respond to an uncertain future and produce extraordinary results for your individuals, teams, and organizations. The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership. Ordinary, everyday actions that produce extraordinary results. Consider how the nature of work has shifted over the past 50 years. With increased globalization, rapid technological advancement, and the shift in economic composition, the average job of today looks very different than the average job of 50 years ago. What will the jobs and organizations of tomorrow look like? Moreover, what does this all mean for organizational leaders? What are the core competencies and capabilities of organizations and their leadership that are prepared for continued disruption and geopolitical and socioeconomic shifts? Regardless of what the future holds, increasingly, leaders need to be socially minded, data-driven, decisive, champions of talent, and disruptors of the traditional notions of leadership, teams, organizations, and work. The Alchemy of Truly Remarkable Leadership will help you to explore your own leadership competencies and capabilities and consider ways to apply and implement them into your workplace and personal life. Thanks again for joining us for this episode of the Human Capital Innovations Podcast. I hope you stay healthy and safe and that you have a great week.